spent studies on fixed and mobile networks. We're in the city of the image in Madrid. We have the studios of Telemadrid, the Spanish TV, and we have Overon, satellite teleport. And whenever I see those antennas next door, I still feel something. I made that picture that day, and now the picture is here again. And what I'm going to talk about today is something to contribute on SDR. Then I'll come back to the topic, but I want to publish the tools because I think that these will really be useful in you on a daily basis. I'm not going to publish vulnerabilities from manufacturers or certain models, but whenever you begin playing with that, you'll see how easy it is. There are two attacks. We're going to focus on channel sequestration and channel hijacking and URL injection. SDR is a software radio defined, and it goes by the hand of TV. In 2010, some people started playing with dongles when digital TVs started, and the Realtek chip. That's where SDR comes from. And they realize that Realtek chip, even though they synchronize and they tune in the TV frequency, they can use it for other frequencies. So when they do that, the chip has a converter, a digital to analogic converter, so all the information that came from the antenna is transferred to the USB. It's fully digital. This is why this is our software-defined radio, SDR, because those zeros and ones that we get, we're going to treat them in a computer. When we scan something, for example, everything we get, the computer doesn't know what the document has. So it tells us a whole bunch of zeros and ones. We need an OCR to recognize something. Same thing here, our dongle, the SDR, sends us zeros and ones. To decode the TV, I need my own software, and that's the SDR. Okay? I don't know whether it sounds familiar, but whenever we go to buy a TV, everyone thinks about the inches and about whether it's curved or flat, and that's it. And of course, the price. But there is another standard, which is the HBB TV, coming from Europe in 2009. And this has to do with what happens to routers. At home, the router stopped being a router. Now they have all sorts of things, USB files, printing servers, and what we want to configure in the router, we never have it. Same thing for the TV. They want to make it interactive. There are millions of TVs globally, and we devote a lot of time to watching TV. But until recently, the TV only just got a signal, and that was it. So these people get here and say, okay, don't worry, we're going to give you some measure-made advertising. Oh, wow.
And how am I going to give you this advertising, customized advertising, because it's going to be interactive? I'm going to broadcast to the right. Forget about the satellite. It could be an aerial, whatever. The image comes in, and in that signal, you're going to have the standard HBB TV, and the TV will answer via router. That's why it is hybrid broadcast broadband. So the broadband is the router. Although we call it smart TV because it's connected, but we connect it with those means. This is a very schematic diagram. If some of you are familiar with this, I apologize because I have really simplified just the focus. This is an operator, just like I think mobiles are better known, but this is a operator. Content is generated to the left. This is the reporter with a van and an antenna that is linked with the radio link with the production center where they prepare the material. Of course, operators have several TV stations that they have to multiplex, and they distribute it. And then it's broadcasted to get it to our homes. Okay. Now we move on to TDT. You all know this is terrestrial digital television. But if you're going to look for standards, you will find nothing about TDT because it's called digital video broadcasting. And this is also born in Europe. In 94 we had the first standard, satellite, and in 1960, which is terrestrial, which is what in Spanish we call the televisión digital terrestre. You have millions of standards for PDF. Those of you who cannot sleep well, is the best thing to help you go to sleep. I won't go into the modulation details. Where's my pointer? Do I have a pointer? So those are the parameters. The DVD, each country implemented it in its own way. We have in Spain this bandwidth. And why does that matter? Because we'll use that later on. As I was saying, the TV comes with those dongles. How many of you have played with one of those dongles? There was something that always struck me. This was manufactured for TV, and we've seen that the bandwidth were 8 megahertz. But when you go play and you put it in your sample rate analyzer, there's a limit at 3. More than 3 megas you will never be able to capture. But the channel is 8. Do you have a clue as to why? Because I used to ask myself. And looking it up, it's about the famous drivers. When you install these, you have to delete the original drivers. And the manuals say this chip has through modes. The one that's originally used that will allow you to receive 8 megahertz. This is the normal TV. But when we change to that secret mode or engineering mode, we are limited to those 2 megas. So if you ask yourselves, it's because you're sort of in the wavelength of the SDR. If you're not into Linux, ignore it. GNU radio is the program when you want to play with that. And we're lucky that there's a gentleman called Botman that generated this block diagram, and he used this weird machine with which he could watch TV. At the end it says file sync. At the bottom right he decodified TV. So it's just a little program to watch TV on your computer, but of course manual. So here you can get your hands into it. This is 2013, and he did it only for the DVB, and he gave it to the GNU radio, and it was included there. And this is digital television, where you not only have DVB-T. So. And they decided to create it for the RF as well. And Botkan, in his PDF, in his web page, he has 3 articles, and he said that he needed a i7 processor. The bandwidth of one channel is very wide, both for broadcasting and for receiving. So each one of the parameters of TTT in Spain has been customized, so in each one of them applies in each one of the phases, as you can see. That's just in case you're interested to play with that in the future. Frequencies. Digital television, what you can see here in this table is that many channels are in the same frequency. That's what happened with digital television. That was not there in the analog television. It multiplexes itself, so in the same frequency we have a lot of channels. This is TDT, and you see that there are blocks, and this is completely regulated. There are royal decrees. You know that the operators took frequencies over from TV, and this is going to continue. This will continue. TDT was lost some part of their frequencies, and this will continue. And so there's the whole regulation and operators and government, and there are 8 of them, and they call them multiple digital. I don't know what but these are regions that broadcast in the whole of our country, except for the fourth one where there are local televisions. That's the ninth block. And that's how we would be told about this on school. Okay? But thanks to Michael Osman, he brought about a hacker reset suite, a utility where you can see 320 megahertz, so you can see all channels. I don't know why in my TV I can't see this channel. The best tool for troubleshooting is this one from 400 to the left till 800. You can see everything. There's a trick to this. You're not taking the 401s. You pick them 5 by 5. But with this utility, you can do a sweep. But without that, with the RTL power, generates a CCV, and this is done in Python, and it looks that nice. If you can see, you can tell the 9 blocks that I've shown you earlier on. This is the same. You can see the 9 groups. Organized by frequency, 482 till 778. Another way of looking at the same channels. This is just a comment, but I don't know if it's happened to you. I used to have machines in which in one TV I can see one channel and in the next one I cannot. When we buy a TV, nobody tells us what synchronizer is inside. Here to the left, the 482, there is a channel, Antena 3 series, and I have a TV in which I cannot see it because of the synthesizer that they use. And there are other TVs in which Antena 3, there are old machines, analogic machines that could not get to those channels. If you have interferences, here you can look at all the channels at the same time. And finally, the CNC issues some quarterly reports with important information. If you want to know what are the share of the different channels and how many people are watching what program, 80% are still using TDT, and if you're going to do an attack to a channel, you want to know which is the one with the greatest share to be more successful. And I'm not encouraging anybody to do any attacks whatsoever, but this is the place where you can see what's the market share of every, or the public share of every channel. I came across an article from Mariel Marugan from 2015, and at the end he's mentioned the same cases. In 86, Capitan Midnight interferes in satellite television HBO, and this guy, he was caught. It was a satellite channel, and the necessary material to broadcast was not in the hands of everybody. There were 3 people who could do that, so he was found. But the one at the top, he's very well known, Hendron. He was not found. These were 2 broadcasts. He comes up with this mask, just laughing, and later on in an episode of Doctor Who, it comes up again. If you want to look at the videos, they're quite weird. They're in YouTube. They talked about creepy images or something. And the more recent ones in the Lebanon war, in the broadcasting through satellite, there is propaganda against Hezbollah. There are other cases, but they do not sequester the channel. The Playboy channel, also a guy came in and started sending religious messages, and in 2013 in Montana, somebody sent a message about a zombie threat. And as to smart TVs, what you're going to find, last year there was an interesting talk from Rafael Schill, and he focused on Samsung. He had 2 television models, and he exploited 2 known vulnerabilities of the navigators, one of Flash and one of JavaScript. What I didn't like about his talk, he was using hardware to broadcast that was proprietary hardware with a Windows program. I was struck by this, and I was looking it up, and that program in Windows and that hardware cannot be meddled with. But there was a background open source. So if we want to learn, that's what we want to use. So how to use those tools to replicate his attacks and many other attacks that we will do. So I focus myself on, we're going to attack the network client. We're going to leave the network in peace. If you remember, in 2015, there was a very well-known attack to the TV5 which is the fourth biggest channel in the world, and the Islamic State did a denial of service, and in 18 hours they brought down 11 channels. They have to be synchronized, and there are many transmissions through satellite, and if you do a jamming or you connect to that transport network and you bring down a piece of equipment, it's relatively easy to have a denial of service than by injecting our content, although there have been cases of that as well. But we're going to focus on, if I want to study smart TV to find vulnerabilities, I'm going to focus on the client. I have my TV and I focus on that. We're going to broadcast through radio and we'll look at the server. So we replace the whole operation with our mobile computer. So first we sequester the channel. We're going to use what I've mentioned earlier on, the tools that we've seen, the GNU radio. You are the editors, producers. You can choose any video, the webcam, and you can re-inject the video of the channel itself. And we're going to add some metadata to the channel we are attacking with the SDR that we're going to send again. The parameters that you see at the bottom, original network, are just IDs. This is regulated. There are bodies that define which are the identifiers, and we have to use the right ones, because otherwise they will find us out. So we have to replicate the information of the channel that we're going to generate. The information is like a normal channel. We'll generate a transport stream and a DS file. There is an Android application. It's called Aerial TV, and you connect it and you can watch TV. There's a JSON file when you synchronize the channel, and you have the information there, and you can pick up the identifiers from there. In Linux with Caffeine, the same way, to the right-hand side bottom, you can look at the properties. It's not very clear here, but you can see network identifier, transport flow, etc. These are the parameters that we need to take to our script. We generate the transport file, and we issue it. We broadcasted it. So this is the script. I picked 2 videos. You can choose whatever you want. As we've seen earlier on, by using these, we're going to change the format. We're going to adapt that. This is MPG2, and at the end of everything, the metadata are generated. And this is really the most important part. These are the metadata from the Python script. There are plenty of tables. I don't want to go into detail about the physical stuff, but the transport and stream, the TS files have a number of tables. We have the IT is very important. This is the application information table. Here we can name our channel. We can configure our own channel, always making sure that the identifiers are those of our victim, and that's going to be broadcasted then. So we're watching TV, we broadcast, and then it stops. This is the injected video. And as soon as we cut, normal TV comes along. So this is a proper and right channel sequestration. But this is not all. We've attacked one TV, script TV. So you laugh and that's it. But your organization or large buildings only have one area. And then there are a number of cables that distribute the signal from that area to every home. And here you understand why I said that if we re-inject the original video, it's better because nobody knows that they are being attacked. So we can re-inject it, no problem. I have the honor of having a great friend who's sitting here that has invited me to his condominium where let's see, he knew the community of the neighbors. We asked for permission. We see when we could do this without affecting anybody and so on. And here you see the box where the aerial comes in, and from there it was distributed upwards in green. So this was to the 4 homes, 2 aerials, and then to a next phase. So if we do the attack at the beginning, we're going to inject our video to the whole of the condominium. If we want to affect only a few homes, depending on where we inject the video, it will affect a number of people. Alvaro is a great human being, but he's also a great body. He's very tall, so he could help me by getting on top of this tiny stool. He could reach that box in the picture. I've recorded this so that you can see that there is no trick. I'm going to tell you how we did this. There is a mobile in the garage, which is where he was recording. He ran up the stairs. There's another mobile phone recording, and finally, with the last mobile phone, I'm going to record a second television. That's why it starts late, because there were only 2 of us. What you're going to see is that Alvaro with his hand will disconnect the cable because the community of neighbors asked us for that to happen for just 1 minute. So he will remove the cable and the signal will be lost. Then he will connect the blade DRF, which is what he has in his hand. The video will be injected, and then he will disconnect and reconnect the original. And when he connects the original, although the signal does not go in, one of the TVs will see it earlier, but when the second one comes along, they're completely synchronized. That is the evidence that I wanted to have to prove that there's no trick here. In the audio, Alvaro loves the free hand. I'm talking. We're talking with each other on the phone. That's the way we synchronized, and that's also evidence of what really happened. Okay, we're all recording. The name of the channel will change. It says Hijacked Channel. So he now leaves the original one, and it comes up first on the first one, and you see in the second one that they're fully synchronized. So we've taken 2 TVs, but as I've said, sorry, this was on a loop. Just to tell you that what we've seen that can affect an isolated TV, obviously are attacks that can be not in this distribution to the building and affect a lot more people. I just want to tell you a bit more about the evolution of the SDR boards, which weren't really boards, but it started in 2011, and the first ones were Syria's Hackerreifen and the USRP, which are the ones that Volkan was using at the beginning. They're very expensive. You have the price there and chronologically how they have evolved. But let's not go into all that. This is how SDRs were before, when Wolfgang was playing with the ENG 2010. 210. It was very difficult to have the money and the means to acquire that. We're talking about some 3,000 euros. And that's now. I'm sure it was more expensive then. And this used to be plugged, so you have to plug it. So in order to do this mobile, it was incredibly complex. So what happened? In 2018, since that picture, a lot of SDRs have come along. And these are not all of the available ones. This is the XDRX from Fitwit, the ones that had a previous mobile. And look at the size. And this is MIMO. It means that it has multiple input and output. So we can broadcast 2 channels at the same time and receive 2 channels. And it's the same price. So we're not talking about the previous prices. And this is the Lime SDR, which I would have loved to use, but it got to me late. Look at the size of the key holder. It doesn't have MIMO, but it has the same chipset that the previous one, and it's incredibly cheaper. This is like $100, $100 and some. And why am I interested in miniaturization? Why do I want it small? Because if you're thinking about attacking TV and reaching as many people as possible, I thought, how easy would it be to rent a drone? We're always talking about drones. Yes, if you're going to do an attack, I'm not going to take my drone. But if we want to do the proof of concept, I found a webpage where you can rent them. In most places, when I wrote to them, they said, okay, we will rent the drone. We will you can rent our drone, but with a pilot. But I wanted it without a pilot because I am the pilot. But this is a webpage where there is a discount if it's on a weekend. So I know where to rent this drone, but how much weight can the drone carry? Because in the specifications of the manufacturers, you will not find anything about weight. There are plenty of videos in YouTube of crazy people who lifts buckets and water bottles to see how many kilos can be left. I do not recommend it because most of them crash. I only found this webpage where they said that the Phantom could lift 300 grams. So I had a goal, 300 grams. Whatever it is that had to broadcast, be independent, and it could only weigh 300 grams. Well, there are many hours of calculations. The hacker was 100 grams, the battery was 100 grams, and the Droid C2 was 62 grams. And with the cover, it was 300. Center of gravity, because if you're going to take this into the drum, you cannot destabilize the drum. You cannot this things offhandedly. You have to. It has to be a physics solid, a rigid solid. And the camera. I am finding the new center of gravity so as not to destabilize the drone. So a lot of work, but let's look at it. So the drone is testing.
me atreví a traer un...
I didn't dare bring in a drone here. I wanted to make a demo, but I didn't dare bring in the drone here. Okay, I was helped by another great friend, Gonzalo. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's another drone. He had a Mavic. He is a professional photographer, and in order to be able to see it and for you to see that there was no trick, I don't know if there is a mobile camera. That's the one that goes into the house. So, and the other one, and that's the one that records the TV after seeing how the drone takes off. So you've seen the Phantom take off, and to record the drone approaching the area, we use the tripod and his Mavi. I don't know if you noticed. I don't have time to show it again, but if you're interested, I can show it again, and you'll see the Mavi that was on top of the house, and that's the one who could record how I approached the antenna, which wasn't easy, actually. Okay. I've told you at the beginning, I don't know if you remember the scheme about the operator and the network. When I talked about distribution and broadcasting to the homes, I've actually lied to you, because there are two. Broadcasting has two networks, primary and secondary. The primary takes the signal from the transport network. That's what we call them primary centers, broadcasting centers. But there are secondary centers. They receive the signal, the radio signal, from those primary centers, and they repeat it. So a primary center, if we want to do an attack to a primary center, that's not going to work. We have to broadcast like a satellite broadcasts or the radio link. But repetitor, as we call secondary centers, with them this attack works. If that drone, rather than approaching the house area, goes to a repetitor, then you would be affecting thousands or hundreds of homes. Okay? This is a channel sequestration. I wanted to show you how easy it is to do so in television. Nobody is authenticating the signal, of course, and do not think that you can just do it at home. You can actually reach a lot of people. What for? To broadcast video. Yes, you can do advertising or propaganda. You can re-inject the original signal, because you remember the server and the HTTP. If you've done the capture of the traffic of your TV, you will see that each time you're watching TV, it's making requests to servers that I guess is a good practice in the domain. They write the HBBT v dot. And many people get confused by this. They say number 1 and 2 have that. Not only the application of the channel 1 and 2, you can view it, and it takes you. The other channels have an application as well. I guess that what they do is that they're saving the statistics that they used to have to call. They are going to know, and you will see that they are regular. Every certain time the TV connects itself again. And here comes the best. So far we've seen how the video was broadcasted, but in that signal we're actually sending our own URL, so we can send the video and the URL. The only thing that's going to change is that in the metadata, besides having to include the identifiers that we've mentioned before, we have an open field, which is the URL. API name, rooted. This is our application that doesn't have too much any ID. So root, the IP of our server, and path, the file, index HTML, or whatever we want. So when we broadcast this video, we make the TV, if it's connected, to access that URL. So far we're talking about having fun, but perhaps I want to re-inject the original video and to do the attack here. In that way, the victim will not know they're being attacked, they're still watching TV, and the attack really goes to that URL. Because if, as Rafael Seal told us last year, you know a vulnerability of the TV, you can exploit it kilometers away, and thousands of victims. You only need to know what TV, what vulnerability, and to broadcast wherever I want to have an impact. I want to tell you before I continue, because this is going to get even more complicated, there is a navigator within a smart TV. There is one which is HBBTV, which is automatic, and with the signal that comes through radio, it's going to access that URL, which is what you have just seen. But all smart TVs also have another navigator, which is the user navigator. When, as a user, you access TV, you always have one navigator, which, because these TVs are designed so that you can navigate while you're sitting comfortably at home being hacked.
And that browser is much easier. It doesn't really make sense for the user browser to attack it via SDR, because the guy is browsing and he can check the website he wants. So the techniques we have are the usual RP poisoning and NS hijacking, but I need to know the Wi-Fi of the guy. I need to be connected to that. Okay. You should know that these are two browsers with two different types of attack. One is remote. And here's an example. I have had access to two TVs, and I've had the fortune of collaborating with Orange last year. And we're able to see a Samsung, and here are the two user agents. This Panasonic, this one here, that I've worked with this year. On the user agent, they have the good practice of showing the model and the manufacturer of the TV, which is great. Because if I send out my signal in housing development, the first remote attack I can do is say smart TV scanning on the Apache logs. I can look at the TVs that are watching that channel, because I'm broadcasting one or several channels. I can give each channel an IP or a different URI. So now which model and which TV is watching each channel with the IP public. To start with, and we can even assess the audience. Next, obviously after years playing with captive portals, I don't know about you, but the first thing I thought it was, hey, social engineering, I could have my own application. Okay, so even better, maybe you're thinking about homes, but in many companies, at the entrance, or in other places to look cool, they have a video wall or a very cool 40 million inch TV broadcasting some sort of corporate video, so that whenever there are visits, they're like, oh, what a cool company. It's a great film or a great video, but they're not watching TV, so broadcasting TV there doesn't make much sense. Here we have a droid that I put on the drone. This cannot be done on the Raspberry. The CPU doesn't hold it. It's got a small battery. And here we have the hack RF. If you want TV to be seen properly with a good quality, you avoid radio. You connect it directly with an antenna cable. I've got this cable because this TV has the plug looking downwards. Otherwise, this will be your attack. You leave there, you plug it into the antenna, and you go away. I think this costs about 200 euros. Well, the hack RC is a bit more expensive, maybe 300 euros is the amount that you will set you back. Anyway, I'm going to connect this to the TV. I can't believe we can watch it. This is the normal TV, it's not connected. I didn't know we were going to have the signal here, but we are close to Telemadrid. Okay, great. So you're going to be able to see it better. I didn't think you'd be able to see it well. This is my attack. That was supposed to be black. I'm going to leave this connected. It has a self-start. I hope it will not take too long. I'm going to open here. This is what many companies have. Many companies display. This is my video. They leave it in many places, and in many areas they won't realize that they're being attacked. This is what they usually have on their video wall. So you can do whatever you want there, really. Okay.
Seguramente, dame un segundo, le voy a decir a la tele que está conectada.
So just give me a second. I'm going to tell the TV that is connected through the cable. Maybe it will complain because of the lack of the internet. Okay. Have you seen that? The application just loaded. When I told it it was connected, it was off earlier, and it's loaded navigator. This is the HBB TV. Is rendered my HTML page. This has been done on purpose, and it's got the rooted logo. There's a usual captive portal. If you change that logo by the manufacturer and you work hard on it, you're like, hey, this has been updated, and you send out a form. Can you please confirm your Wi-Fi name? And they will update it. So you have a QWERTY keyboard. You can move with the buttons. There you go. When you accept, it's super basic. You're going to see it here. You have that file, and here you have what the user replied to the form. Can you see it well?
¿Vale? En ese fichero, configuration settings, lo he llamado.
So I've called these file configuration settings, and when the guy writes something in these forms on your Apache browser, you'll have the IP, the TV, and the Wi-Fi in a very simple way. It's just the usual classic social engineering. And then keylogger, I didn't thought a keylogger attack could be done on HBB TV. The guy's watching TV, he's not gonna key in anything. I did see it for the user browser. If the guy is browsing at home and doing whatever he writes is a JavaScript. You can inject it, and we'll see it later. You may inject it. Here we have the keylogger. So everything they press are stored on that text file. They go to the web browser. They're using a newspaper's website, and the TV reads the website just as if it wasn't smart or multimedia enough. And if you want to watch some of these demos on this TV, there's no problem. Just not to change. This I'm showing it with a video. And on the TXT data, you have all the keys and the codes. This is quite limited, but here you may see the proof of concept and see that the keylogger is actually working. And it just needs to be adapted to the standard. Okay, so this is going in a loop, but you just need to send it to the HBB TV standard. You just need to map the keys, and it's super simple. You just need to know the code, and on the text file, you have all the keys that the guy has pressed. And what else? Well, lately we see loads of cryptocurrency mining, and this also loaded on websites, and TVs read websites. That was a JavaScript. It looks like it, doesn't it? Okay. So it took quite a while. I've used the echo in eBay. And this guy is a simple Wii, the most basic one. And after all the attacks and all these things, well, now the ultrasound is not working. There's a flag on JavaScript for it to mine automatically, but it doesn't work. The first time the user needs to go to start mining. Do you accept that you're going to mine cryptocurrencies, and then it mines? So I just wanted to check on this TV, on the Panasonic, this wouldn't work. it was testing variations. I got the JavaScript from one of those attacks, where the code is really modified to have auto start or self start or auto start, maybe due to the web sockets. But when I see the source code, there is a first stage. And this is in the ibex too, yes. On the wizard capture, first of all, it loads the applet perfectly, and it establishes the HTTPS connection with the outline. Now next to the navigator, when it comes to creating the WebSocket, on this TV it stays there. And this is service IP. Here are the first HTTPS negotiations, and there it is. And the last thing that I think made sense was Metasploit, right? If we really want to research vulnerabilities and look at those browsers seriously, we have beef. With Metasploit, same thing. Doesn't make sense to do it with the HBBTV or the user. I think it makes more time to attack both. We might be more interested in checking out the results on the user's browser. I'm using BetterCap, the new ENG BetterCap, to inject JavaScript when the user is injecting. Whenever there is any website, I hook the navigator, the browser. We have the JavaScript code, we have the BetterCap with my computer and the TV, the beef with the Metasploit, and he's just waiting. It's just run on TV actually. And it actually hooks the browser. New hooked browser, there are the details. And we send an invisible iframe with the Metasploit started with the browser autopunk. I have the URL that the Metasploit is waiting for, and I put that on the iframe. I copy it, we hook it, command, we create an invisible frame. We're seeing a deceit, says the video. And when we send the frame to the browser, Metasploit begins working. Okay, so as a conclusion, a few years ago when we all had a phone, we didn't care about the operating system. We didn't care, it could be an Ericsson, an Nokia, you just had a phone, a mobile device. Right now we don't really care about the operating system of the phone, or the browser it has, because we know all the vulnerabilities that came to the phone when they became smart. And I think the same thing is happening to TVs, but no one is talking about that. And next, when you go to buy a TV, maybe you don't care about inches. I've mentioned the best non-operating systems, there are several. And here are the two TVs. I've made it anonymous. These are the two TVs that I could check with the results of those attacks for each operating system, and each browser we may have different results. So the attacks we've seen are local. They focused on the fact that you could audit your smart TV. So instead of doing those attacks on a TV, if we do them on the web server that we've seen for each operator, they're actually compromising many TVs, and those webs there will have vulnerabilities so that no one can carry out that type of attack. And just give me a bit of time. I'll post that on the GitHub repository. The only thing you need is the GNU radio 3.71 and your RZR device, as well as your smart TV. And this is all from me. Thank you. excuse me, we actually don't have time for questions, so you can ask him things outside while you have a snack. Thank you. Thank you.
But when you feel weak, you feel like you want to just give up, you gotta search within you, try to find that inner strength that just pull